Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of St. Anne Home.
Welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Here now is your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections. I'm your host, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce, Chad Amond. It is prom season, and we are delighted to have Angela Rose O'Brien. She's the founder of Angela's Angels. Angela, thank you very much for being on the show. I mentioned it's prom season, and that is probably one of the most important times of the year for Angela's Angels.
Indeed it is. Thank you so much for having me, Chad. Yes, it is, and it's an exciting time for any young lady, and we're so happy that we are a part of that.
Yeah, so I think that the listeners need to understand what is your background and what does Angela's Angels do and how did it start?
Well, marketing is my background. I've been doing that for quite some time. And Angela's Angels started quite a few years ago. Officially, it was in 2006.
Okay.
So we have been very blessed that we could do this for a long time. I was a commissioner for the Pennsylvania Women's Commission. I was appointed by Governor Rendell way back when. And every year we have a governor's conference for women. We still do. It's out in the East. And so I had gone to this event that they had, the governor's conference, and there was a booth. And it was a lady that was kind of doing what Angela's Angels does, but not really. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is what I want to do. I really like that idea. There were some things about it that I didn't like the way they did, but I had my own thoughts. And so I came back and I was telling like all my friends and whatnot that this is something I'd like to do. And I am a member of the Women's Business Network. We're the Laurel Highlands chapter. And so I was telling these friends of mine that I see all the time that this is something that I'd like to do. Time passes, you know how you do.
Right,
you plant a seed and then
right.
you move on. So I had been literally walking down the street in downtown Latrobe. I was with my daughter, and I want to say it was maybe after her wedding. And we walked down the street, and I see a sign in the front window, and it was a going out of business for an establishment. And so I went in, and lo and behold, I knew the woman. Actually, we had gotten my daughter's wedding gown and everything from them. So I said to her, I see that you have this sign out. I'm so sorry to see that, you're moving on.
Yeah.
And she said, yes, it's time. And I said, well, what do you do with all these gowns? And she said, why do you ask? And I said, well, and I proceeded to tell her about this booth that I had talked to these ladies and what I wanted to do. Well, she had racks and all the gowns on hangers, and all of the gowns had tickets on. These were brand new, not used at all. And she said to me, take them. And I said,
Really?
You mean like, I'll take the racks, take the hangers, take the gowns? And I was like, okay. So I got on the phone and I called my husband, Tom, and I said, Tom, bring the other SUV. And he was like, what are we doing now? And we literally took everything right then and there, load them up in cars. I called some other friends and we made it happen and we took them away. So Tom said, and where are we going with these and what are we going to do with these? And I said, well, geez, we have in our downstairs, I think we have some room down there that we could put these up. And he was like, oh my gosh, Ange, not another thing. I said, yep, that's what we're doing. So we take it, he puts up the racks and he carries all his knees, his shoulders. He was complaining. He said, oh my gosh, what you do to me. And I said, it'll be okay. So we put them all downstairs. And then I was like, now I got to kind of think about this because I didn't have a place and I didn't have everybody in mind. So we just sat them there for a little bit. Well, the important thing that to me was while they were sitting there, we had gotten some of my relatives in from Italy, and they came to visit. And so my mother was showing them the house, and they go downstairs, and there's racks and racks of gowns. And my cousin, of course, in Italian, said to my mother, who was born and raised in Italy, does everybody do this? Do they all have racks and racks and they're downstairs? And my mother's like, oh my gosh, no. So we kind of laughed over the whole thing. So some time passed, and then I talked to the ladies at the WBN, and we decided we would kind of do this on the road to get started. So since we started, we have had 9 locations. We started out in a pod, like we had a pod that we had just put the gowns in to get them out of my basement.
Okay.
And then we had gone with Sylvan Learning Center, the dry cleaning station. I mean, we just had wonderful women supporting us throughout the time. And we would literally go in on a weekend, set up, and outfit girls, tear everything down, and then go to our jobs in our homes and do whatever we needed to do. And then the next weekend, we would do the very same thing.
So you gave the strong background of how Angela's Angels started, but I mean, what does Angela's Angels do for the listeners? I mean,
Sure.
I understand, but do you do prom dresses or weddings or something like that? Is it donated? Or explain to the listeners what Angela's Angels formally does.
Okay, thank you so much for asking. What we do is we outfit financially disadvantaged young girls, send them to prom and all their special occasions free of charge. We are open year-round, but by appointment only, and we, at any given time, have a couple thousand gowns on hand for the young ladies to try on and to see if they like. We have short dresses, we have long dresses, we have straight and poofy, a little bit of everything. Not only do we do that, but we also have jewelry, shoes, and purses, everything that they need to take and walk out the door. Now, people ask me, well, what do we have to do to get an appointment? And I tell people, you just pick up the phone and give us a call. They often ask, well, do I need to bring pay stubs? Do I need to bring income tax statements? And I always say, absolutely not. Anything that we do is from the heart. And so when a young lady comes in and says she's in need, we are there to give to her. It is a service that we do free of charge. We only survive by donations from kind people, both dresses and financially. We do have our monthly expenses that we need to meet. We are located in downtown Latrobe. We're located at 816 Ligonier Street. We're right across from the Latrobe Arts Center. Mm-hmm. We're in the Quattrini and Rafferty building on the second floor, by appointment only.
Right.
And all of us either work and or have our activities all day long. And so everybody that does this are volunteers.
So how many volunteers do you have, approximately?
Well, in our group in particular, we have about 30 women that can do different things at different times. And we're very blessed with that. However, we're always in need of volunteers because not everybody can do at the same time. So that's definitely one thing. The other thing is that our volunteers, if they're busy with their families or working or whatever, sometimes that puts it, because we're doing Christmas dances, we're doing the old-fashioned Sadie Hawkins dance, and we're doing girls that are going to weddings. We have done bridesmaids for weddings. We had a young lady that came in. We do not do bridal gowns. I just don't have the room to do it. Mm-hmm. But we have done complete wedding parties. So the one girl came in and said, this is the color that I would like. I don't care what the style is, but I would like everybody to have and this particular color. And we were able to do that for her. She had a small bridal party, and we were able to accomplish it.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. We're talking with Angela Rose O'Brien. She is the founder of Angela's Angels, located at the Quattrini Rafferty Building in Latrobe. Angela, you said that the only hours are by appointment only.
Correct.
And who is your target market? Is it like only the kids in like 10th grade to 12th grade, or the parents of those children? Who is your target market?
Well, really, both are the target market. However, oftentimes, like the grandmother or the mother might hear a program like this and say to the daughter, "Oh, we need to call here," or "You need to call here and make an appointment." And that works out well for us. The kinds of things that we give them, the gowns and the jewelry, the shoes, some are brand new. We work with just about every bridal shop in the area. They have been fabulous.
Oh, really?
And most of them that are with us have been with us since the inception of Angela's Angels. Oftentimes they'll come in and the tags are still on the dress, and it tells you how much it would be if you would have picked it up at the bridal salon. We also take gently worn dresses. Now, people say, "Oh, I don't know, gently worn." Well, let's be honest. If you were going to wear a dress, you're only wearing it one time.
Right.
And you're wearing it for a limited amount of hours. So most of the dresses come to us in very good shape. If not, then of course we're not going to use them. My philosophy is, if I don't put it on my daughters, I won't put it on yours.
Right.
Now, we do have some people that come to us that can afford to give a donation. And so we always just kind of put that out there. If you need it, it's yours to take, and we are happy to let you use that. But if you can't afford to make a donation, that's how we survive. Since we don't have the income stream like some other businesses do or other nonprofits do, we need the kind donations to make this happen year in, year out.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Westmoreland Community Connections on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. If you have a suggestion for a topic, or if your nonprofit organization would like to be featured on this program, call us during regular business hours at 724-216-1200.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of St. Anne Home.
Welcome back. You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. Our guest today is Angela Rose O'Brien. She is the founder of Angela's Angels. Angela's Angels donate for prom dresses and wedding dresses. Angela, before we went to the break, we were talking about where you're located and the hours, and one of the things that we need to make sure that the listeners understand is, if my daughter has a prom dress and she goes to the prom and she wants to donate the prom dress, how does she do that?
Great question. Well, first of all, we would strongly recommend everyone go to angelasangels.org. That is our website, and on there is a list of places that you can drop off to at any given time. Our main place that is our drop-off spot, and has always been, is Wiggs and More in Latrobe on Route 981. Kathleen's been with us for since the inception of Angela's Angels, and they collect. The reason that we do that is she's open like 6 days a week. Our other places that are listed on there as well are open during the regular business hours. Because we're all volunteers and we have other jobs and we have other things to do, we cannot be there to accept at our place of business. And so it's very important that we have an entire list, and there is an entire list on the website. So I strongly recommend that you do that. When we're talking about giving the donation of the items, oftentimes people will say to me, do I have to have it dry cleaned before I bring it to you? That is something only you can tell. We do not have the means to pay to dry clean. We did a long time ago. We were able to work with some dry cleaners in the area. At this time, we could really use a good dry cleaner to come alongside of us to help us out with that. And I also realize that it's an expensive endeavor for prom gowns in particular. Because we don't do wedding gowns or whatnot, that helps us a little bit that, we don't need to be as concerned with that. But people know if the gown's in good shape or not. My basic standby, if you're not going to put it on your daughter, you're not going to put it on someone else. And all of the ladies with our Laurel Highlands Women's Business Network feel the very same way. There is no Angela's Angels without these volunteers. And we have other volunteers that I rely on heavily, more than just the members. But when they bring in a gown, if it's in really bad shape, it might not be something that we use. However, we try to find a home for gowns that maybe were soiled or maybe it was outdated. We work with Stage Right. We work with high schools for their musical departments. We work with a wide variety of people that can take some of the things that we're not using. We have a lady that makes baby doll dresses, and perhaps there's a stain on the front of the dress, but the whole material from all the rest of it can be used for something like that. We try to find a home for just about everything, because it's important to me. It was important to someone when they bought that dress special, maybe way back when. It had a place in their heart. And so we like to try to respect that and do something nice with it when we can.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously not-for-profits need funding. And you said that you have a ton of volunteers, and our community thanks those volunteers. But how do you get the funding for sponsors, and how would a listener potentially give funding for this important program?
This is of utmost importance to us because we do not have an income stream for Angela's Angels. We only survive by the kindness of the hearts of the listeners here and the people that are in our neighborhood and that can make a difference. Online, again, you can find out where you can send if you would like to make a donation. It's P.O. Box 717, Greensburg, 15601. But we need that money to, number one, pay our rent and our basic needs that we need to have to keep going each and every month. Number two, we are always in search of larger size gowns and shoes, dresses. We find that we do have quite the assortment of tiny dresses. However, the larger the numbers go up, the more we are in need. So sometimes I have to actually go out and purchase these items.
Oh, really?
And so that money goes towards that. Jewelry. We give them the sparkly jewelry they desire to complete the look, because if you can't afford a dress, you can't afford the jewelry,
Right.
you can't afford the shoes.
And you can't afford the purse, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So what we try to do is make it so that they are ready to go out the door when they leave us without worry. The last thing I want anybody to do is to not feel worthy, not feel that they fit in with everybody else. So I don't want them to say, oh, great, this is a wonderful dress, but I wished I could have a necklace to go with it. That's why we try to do that. So I'm constantly buying that, shoes. Shoes are another thing that it's an ongoing thing for me that I've got to purchase. So literally everything that comes in goes back out in one form or another in order to accommodate the girls.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We're talking with Angela Rose O'Brien. She is the founder of Angela's Angels. They provide for students in prom dresses and weddings and things like that. Angela, what are some of the needs for Angela's Angels?
Well, anybody that can donate financially, that's our first and foremost need that we always have. But then there are the dresses, and like I said, it can be a long dress, short dress, whatever, anything for special occasion. We don't do dress for success type of things. We don't outfit women for they're going for a job or what. I would love to be able to do that. We just don't have a facility large enough to house that.
Right.
So we can't accept things like that, but we can accept jewelry and purses and shoes and, as we always say, the dresses and whatnot. Anything that would go to make it an easy transition for them just to leave there and be ready to go.
So whom do you receive the most stock from? Is it people that have their wedding 2 months ago, or is it the students at that go to the prom and stuff like that? So who's the donors?
Well, First off, the bridal salons are that's the biggest one that gives us the most. And like I said, they're brand new and with the tags still on. Secondly to that, it is people that are cleaning out their closets. Oftentimes, like we work hand in hand with, for example, Mount Pleasant High School. They are, actually this week, you will be seeing a YouTube commercial on our site that they did.
Oh,
they
really?
came in. They have done a prom. They have done dress drives for us. Although we are very blessed with a lot of dresses. Like I said, I'm specifically looking for larger sizes. But they have been terrific. They have set rules for what is permissible to wear to prom and what is not. Some of the other schools don't have so many of the lists that you can and cannot wear, but their school is one, and that's why I'm choosing that. They always wear very, very nice items, up to date, but maybe just not the slits cut up as far or as down or whatever,
Yeah,
because
right.
that's all part of what we do as well. But they have had drives for us. WCCC has had drives for us. We work with primarily the tri-state area, so if a girl's not paying, she can actually afford to come in a little further. But our neighbors right here is who we help the most, and that's who gives us the most. If you think, though, that perhaps, you have dresses from 20 years ago, they may not be exactly what we're looking for.
Right.
So
you want to make sure that those girls that are going to the prom love their dress,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. They need to fit in, and that's very important. There are some dresses that are just, you have wife and daughter. I mean,
3 daughters.
Right. There you go. So we need, and the same with myself and granddaughter too. But we try to keep going with that idea that if you're not going to wear it today, then you might not want to donate it to us, because that's what we're looking for, to make you feel like $1 million because you deserve it.
So Angela's Angels started in 2006, right? And so what is the vision for the future?
Well, we work with primarily for self-esteem for the girls. And, it seems like it's a little bit of foo-foo, if you will, and that I think is a word because of the fluff with the dresses and everything else. However, when push comes to shove, it's the self-esteem we work with. When a young lady picks up the phone, number one, it takes a little bit of gumption just to pick up the phone and say you need something. You'd like to make an appointment because you are in need. The other thing is you come to our door and you don't know what to expect. You're thinking, I'm getting somebody's hand-me-downs. It's probably not going to be that great, but I can't afford anything else, so I'll try it. So you walk in, this young lady walks in, and her shoulders are slumped down, and she's just kind of looking around to see what's going on. And then she's very surprised that there's brand new stuff in there and that there's stuff that is up to date and that you will actually want to select.
Yeah.
So it is a really wonderful transformation once they find the dress, and then we add all the jewelry and the shoes and everything. The excitement builds and their posture changes and their self-esteem is bolstered. It is such a gift that every one of my volunteers sees and thrives for, because we're just, that's all we want. That's all we want. And when they walk out, they're a different person than when they walked in.
Wow, that's heartwarming. Well, Angela Rose O'Brien is the founder of Angela's Angels. She is an Athena Award winner, and she served on the board of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce, and she had so much impact on our community. Angela, thank you very much for being on the show. We're going to end it on what was one of the stories that is most heartwarming in your heart for Angela's Angels.
Well, we've had so many. We've been so blessed with the volunteers and the girls that come in. One in particular that comes to mind was, you should never judge a book by its cover, and we never do. But in particular, the one lady came in, made an appointment, came in and brought her 2 daughters. And she walked in and she had a designer bag, and so did the girls. And they had their cell phones and whatnot. And my volunteers had looked outside when they walked in, and they had a brand new, it was a really nice car that they came out of. Right. And so the girls were like, this is interesting. So we outfit the girls, and everything went very well. And at the end of the time that we were with them, the mother said to me, I need to share something with you. And I said, okay. She said, it has occurred to me that, I came in here with my nice things, and you might think, wow, they can afford to buy whatever they want. Why are they here?
Right.
It ended up that they did have all those things. They had a beautiful home. They had, all the niceties that many of us would hope for. But some things had happened right before prom. Her husband had passed, and they actually had lost their home because before he had passed, they used up all the money, and they couldn't afford to keep their home. And so they had some nice things that was with their everyday life before these things started happening. Well, it snowballed, and it got worse and worse. To make a long story short, the car they drove up in was the car they were living in.
Oh.
And so here we are, you can stand in judgment of someone. You don't know until you walk in their shoes. Those girls needed self-esteem. Those girls needed to look like everybody else. They needed to have that dress that makes the difference for them. And praise God, we were the ones that could do it.
Wow. That is a fantastic story, and it summarizes why Angela's Angels is present, and I thank you for your impact on our community. If you want to go online to angelasangels.org, angelasangels.org, or just call 724-836-6444 at 724-836-6444. Angela, thank you very much for being on the show. I thank you very much for your impact on our community.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Join us next week, same time, same place for another edition of Westmoreland Community Connections. Thanks for listening, everyone.
This has been Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings in and around Westmoreland County. Join us again next week on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of St. Anne Home.